Welcome to Easton Kiwanis' meeting today. The Pledge of Allegiance is recent. It's the Special Olympics, June 3rd, 2022 in Florida. These games are going on right now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we've got a patriotic national anthem, America the Beautiful. For most people on the screen, this kind of is hitting home. This is from Easton High School's graduation just the other night. That was kind of unique in the fact that that's the first that they've used the new Cottingham Stadium for graduation. So I thought it was interesting to put that one up this week. Eldrick, a moment of inspiration.
I actually have two of them here. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. And that's a quote from Helen Keller. And I think Kiwanis is a perfect example of that. We certainly do a lot of our projects and things with hope and also with confidence. And just another one, a little brief one here that is kind of tickles the funny bone, and you'll see why. To succeed in life, you need three things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. And that's a quote from Reba McEntire.
Working, I then have Kiwanis history, since I've got a whole bunch of little history things. Only way to settle international misunderstandings, Easton Kiwanis' poll. This is from March 9th, 1939. The way to settle international misunderstandings is not through war, but through a real spirit of fellowship toward other peoples of the world whose political and religious philosophies may be different from our own, declared the Reverend Frederick O. Muser, rector of the Trinity Episcopal Church in Easton, while addressing the luncheon meeting of the Easton Kiwanis Club at the Hotel Easton at noon Wednesday. Speaking on the subject of culture and nationalism, Reverend Musser reviewed the culture of the ancient Greeks, emanating from the little city of Athens, the culture of Italy during the Renaissance, and finally the culture of Germany in Goethe's day and of England in the Victorian era. He pointed out the significant fact that in all these cultural periods, nationalism was not known as it is known in Germany and Italy today. And he argued that wherever nationalism is rigidly maintained, culture is destroyed. His definition of culture is the knowledge of all the best that has been said and done and thought in all places and all times, an ideal taken from the writings of Matthew Arnold.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Michael. There.
Yes, how are you?
7,000 miles away.
Surely that is really so long.
Good to see you, Michael.
Thank you very much. I'm happy being here finally.
Yes. Well, why don't you go ahead and do your presentation while we were waiting for you to show up? I kind of let our people here know how it was that you and I actually began to communicate back in April of last year. And so why don't you just go ahead and tell us about a little bit about yourself and then about some of the activities with your club. Bill has chosen some photos that he could possibly display as you're doing your presentation.
Yeah, Jackie sent us all a message that it's 6,999 miles from New York to Uganda. So he's over 7,000 miles away. So Walt, I'm going to mute you from my end, and I'm going to put it's speaker view. So let's go, Michael. It's up to you now.
Yes, thank you very much. I have been very eager to share a platform with you all and then talk about the various things that are happening with Kiwanis in Uganda and charity organizations in general. Life is truly fragile and we never know when it will end. But when the time is due and discussions are geared towards discussing the desperate unpredictability of human existence, I hope we can find comfort in knowing that our last conversations with friends were those of intense caring, and that we lived life trying to make each day better for friends and ourselves, most especially friends that are less fortunate than we are. A very good afternoon to you all. My name is Nkwanga Michael. I was born on the 12th of April in 1997. I am an accountant by profession, a teacher by choice, and a social worker by nature. I am also a self-proclaimed activist for the rights of children, women, and special interest groups. Over time, I have embraced the satisfaction and fulfillment of being able to extend a hand to the less privileged. And this is not because I have a lot, but rather because I know how it feels to have nothing at all. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is an opportune time to assert very importantly that different children grow up differently and life experiences nurture them in different ways. While some children learned how to, I learned how not to. I have always known there is a possibility of children living in the same conditions or even worse. Deep down, I believe that each child has a dream and a passion with which they thrive. The difference is that some children are blessed to have angels that bring hope and life to their dreams, while other kids are not this fortunate. Ladies and gentlemen, my sole objective for joining Kiwanis was to serve these special children who have nothing to live for, nobody to look up to but God. I always wanted to lift them up, show care and empathy. There was love burning in the deepest of me, and I felt I could share it. This has actually taught me that even the smallest things in the right direction actually matter. I believe that dreams turn to reality because, in my own understanding, hope is not just a dream, it is a way of making dreams become reality. In Africa, the largest percentage of children grow up in absolute poverty, domestic violence, neglection, low self-esteem, lacking basic needs. And you see, this goes as ugly as girls exchanging sex for pads. There is a lot of feminine starvation. It is a shaming, but then I'll have to assert that the education system is in some way crippled. Healthy facilities are poor. There are many cases of sexual assault, for example, rape, defilement, and to mention but many more. I have taken time, and I'm still taking time, to write down a book entitled The Plight of an African Child. This is going to deeply entail the hardships and hurdles that an African child goes through on a daily. While talking about Kiwanis clubs in Uganda, I want to tell you that Kiwanis clubs in Uganda started as a dream with no perfection, but over time it has turned into beautiful reality with lots of perfection. We started with the Kwanz Club of Wakiso. The Kwanz Club of Wakiso, we then formed Kwanz Club Nakawa. From the Kwanz Club of Nakawa, where I am a board member, we have been able to form 3 more clubs, and that is the Kwanz Club of Mpiji, the Kwanz Club of Rila, and the Kwanz Club of Kasese. All these clubs are situated in different regions of the country. For example, the Kwanz Club of Rila is in northern Uganda. The Kwanz Club of Kasese is in the western part of Uganda, while Kwanz Club Nakawa, the mother club of these three, and Kwanz Club Mpiji are situated in the central part of Uganda. We are trying to extend the gospel of Kiwanis as far as we can from Uganda and then to East Africa at large. We also have the Kwanz Club of Nachivalli Refugee Settlement, and this is in Nachivalli. Nachivalli is actually among the top 5 biggest refugee camps in Africa at the moment. Even when it wasn't a very warm reception, the fruits of our work are speaking volumes in the lives of people, and our clubs continue to blossom day by day. Depending on where these clubs are actually located, and then the different points of interest, we have been able to do quite a number of projects, and at this juncture, I feel it is an opportune time to take you through these. One common thing for sure is our clubs have so much prioritized education, because I and the other members agree that education is honestly the jackpot of the poor. Children in Africa have a thinking that it is only when we study that we can be able to impact society very positively in terms of policy making, in terms of contributing to the formal sector, in terms of very, very many things. Well, under education, we visit schools, technical institutes, we go to learning centers, basically to donate scholastic materials like books, pens, sets, reams of paper, and many others. We so much believe that these children also need mentors. And when we share these items, we go ahead and mentor, we inspire, we motivate and train practical skills like making liquid soap, reusable sanitary pads, and baking. We are greatly focused on education, as we believe that education is a social benefit that every member of the society is bound to benefit from. We have also done projects in the health sector. For example, the Kwanz Club of Nakawa has had, we've made 2 visits to the Uganda AIDS Commission for children living with HIV/AIDS. We have also visited the Uganda Institute of Children Living with Cancer. We have visited quite a number of hospitals and health centers. Here we donate medical equipment, for example, mother kits to women that are going to deliver, cotton, and very many others. Then we also contribute, depending on how well we are doing financially, we contribute to medical drives to save life. For example, our recent contribution was made to Namulindwa Harriet. Now, this is a 3-year-old girl that developed a tumor that covered both her anal and vaginal openings. Well, at first, we only thought the tumor is as a result of cancer. And then when we were able to help her undergo treatment and a few medical checks, that is when we discover this was not a cancerous tumor, but it was only an abnormal tumor that developed. It is sad to let you know that this tumor covered both her vaginal and anal openings. Well, we successfully helped her undergo through phase 1, the phase 2. Now, when phase 2 was done, that is when we actually discover that Namulindwa Harriet, whom we all along thought was a girl, was a hermaphrodite. She had both the male and female genitals. And now that gets this entire thing very, very complicated. All this while, from the time she started developing the tumor, she had tubes in which she could ease herself. And this means that her feeding was also restricted to fluids. Now, this is a girl that does not come from a well-to-do family. Sometimes all they can afford is physical food. So when things like this happen and she has to undergo special feeding, her family could not afford. And this is where the Kiwanis Club Nakawa comes in, partners with SSA Foundation for Children Living with Cancer to ensure we can actually save her. Well, till date, we are still battling the case of Namulindwa Harriet. And trust me, I shared a number of pictures, and when I was talking to Sir William Walters, he was actually asking me, I see a number of children with big heads, and then, well, some of those, their conditions of one being hydrocephalus, while some as a result of cancer. Well, except education and health, we also pay keen attention to our environment. We do environmental conservation projects, for example, planting trees, sensitization on environmental awareness, because we believe that we cannot say we love ourselves if we don't love the environment in which we stay. We go ahead to conduct community service projects. We have visited slums, orphanages, centers for abandoned children, and general society. This over time has helped us bond with society in general. 2, we have been an arm for society to rely on. One fact for sure is we rely on society and society relies on us. So basically, we have created that interdependence, which is a key factor for any community to develop. We have also done blood donation drives, starting from sensitization about good hygiene and living in peace and harmony. We have been a bond between the rich and the poor, and we believe that the rich have a role to play in the lives of the poor. And we believe that the rich actually have a role to play in the lives of the poor. We have been the working bridge to foster this relationship. The other thing we have done is we add our voices to billions of others to advocate for rights of women, children, and persons living with disabilities. We share mechanisms to raise self-confidence and break ties of stigma and judgment based on prejudice and stigma. Well, in as much as we have been able to do quite a number of projects, which I very honestly want to commend Kiwanis clubs in Uganda, starting from the Kiwanis Club of Nakawa, where I am a board member, to the rest of the clubs, we also undergo through challenges. Now, challenge number 1, at first, at the start of Kiwanis, we got doubted good enough. We accepted to be tested and have done our best and proven worthy over time. Our greatest challenge has been the access to finances. While in as much as there is so much willingness for the members to volunteer and do quite a number of projects, for us to reach out and be able to assist our communities and children in general, this all requires finances, and trust me, it has not been going well with us. 3, there is a very low support from government and established entities under corporate social responsibility. Well, part of what companies and organizations are supposed to do under corporate social responsibility is reaching out to society. We believe that there must be a phase or a moment where these companies, organizations, and enterprises give back to society that has supported them and that has stood their challenges over time. Well, I do not want to attribute this to the fact that Uganda is a third world country, because I want to think it is possible this happens elsewhere else. Then the other challenge is the working relationship between new Kiwanis clubs and pioneer clubs is still lacking. In one of the messages that Sir William Walt has sent me about, was it about, I remember it had something to do with vaccination, and then with maternal vaccination and something like that. Trust me, I personally did not have information about this, and I want to think the same is true for other Kiwanians. Well, broadly, I want to think Kiwanis has offers lots of services. Kiwanis supports clubs and societies in very many different ways. But judging from the fact that the idea of Kiwanis is still a new one in Uganda, we have not so much been able to tap into these opportunities. That is why, in my place, I strongly stand to say that there must be a strong working relationship between pioneer clubs. By pioneer clubs, I mean clubs that have been in existence for really long, and then clubs like ours that have just joined the Global Kiwanis Fraternity. Well, having shared about the projects and challenges that are being faced by our Kwanz clubs, I feel I would like to pose a question. If your children don't learn with children with special needs at school and have never been taught that not everyone in society is equal, perhaps you should spend some minutes tonight and explain it to them. In light of recent events regarding the exclusion of a child with autism from attending a school trip and a child with Down syndrome being expelled from a dance class simply because she couldn't keep up with it, I felt the need to share this. There are actually boys and girls that nobody invites to birthday parties. There are special children that deep down would want to be part of a team, but are not selected because people in charge feel like it's more important to win than to include these children. Kids with special needs aren't weird. They just want what everybody wants, and that is to be accepted, to be loved right, and to be cared for. Let me refer to page 8 of my book, The Plight of an African Child. I draw emphasis to the fact that every child is talented and gifted in their own way. They only unwrap their packages at different times. I as well continue to refer to children as popcorns in the same saucepans. Even when they're in the same vessel and they're sharing the same amount of cooking oil, each popcorn pops at its own time. I only think if society can look at children in such a way that each child pops at their own time, and we should accept our children just the way they are and support and nurture their talents, then we would be good to go. I feel it's great fortuity to preachify didactically. We often worry about what kind of world we leave our children. Perhaps we can start worrying about what kind of children we leave the world. I mean to pose a question. What footsteps are we leaving in children's lives? A deep well thought about idea of the question I just posed revolves around the fact that life is just not about the positive impact. Life is not about us, but the positive impact we cause in society. Well, growing up in a progressive family, I have had the chance to live in the ugliest, in the uglier to ugly and to good situations. So many people will think this is unfortunate. But when you sit down and observe so many things, that is when you realize this is a very unprecedented chance. I have traveled to different parts of the country, Uganda, and I am so much thankful to God that He has enabled me to. And friends, one thing I realize is everyday things in our lives are possibly miracles in the lives of some other people. I want you to know somebody wishes to have the things you have and are reluctant to thank God for. This should energize us all to serve more and make the world better, more convenient, simpler, and more comfortable for everybody to stay. We as well have upcoming projects, and our projects have majorly been short-term in nature. And I think this is a good timing that we start looking at long-term sustainable projects. We are seeking to partner with interested partners to kickstart the construction of a home for children, for children living with cancer. Well, these children previously lived in a temporarily rented building, but over time, the cost of renting is overwhelming, and the safety of these children at least needs to be guaranteed. Every person in the depth of their conscience knows that their home, their family is their entire world, and thus that all the children are their children. You do not need to be altruistic to help. Yet merely we have to understand that their future affects and involves us. They are the children and must be the most invaluable resource for the future of the planet. Well, I normally challenge my friends that tell me children are future leaders of tomorrow. And I'm like, yes, I resonate with you on that statement, but what have we done about it? Because deeply, I don't think we should be talking about things and not acting. It must be verbal and action at the same time. That is when we can be able to fulfill quite a number of things. Two, we have a Go Back to School campaign. Just like any other country, the COVID-19 pandemic era has been a very catastrophic one. Trust me, so many people have lost jobs. Companies and organizations have scaled down their employees. It is a completely hard situation. Well, so many children have outgrown their classes and they feel like, oh, I am too old to be in this class. And we need to talk to these children and make them look at a whole different direction. Teachers have actually channeled to different professions. Many of them have taken onto boda cycling, making chapatis, and so many other jobs that would actually earn them quick money to keep their families surviving. But if I must ask, where does all this leave our children? Now, in our Back to School campaign, we are soliciting for scholastic materials to extend a hand to the less privileged children, putting keen emphasis to children from disadvantaged families. We have quite a number of projects that we would love to do. From the short-term projects that we have been doing, now we are asking ourselves, and over time, these are conversations that we are having. Can we look at having projects that are sustainable? Can we look at calling upon senior Kiwanis clubs to join us to share ideas so that we can be able to affect our society very positively? Well, great Kiwanians, I am a teacher by choice, and I think it is a characteristic of the profession for one to be very verbal, I feel you have been an amazing audience. If I do not stop here, I would keep talking and talking and talking and talking, as provided by a teacher as a profession. It is so much honor sharing a platform with you all. I beg to end here. Thank you very much. For God and my country, hail Kiwanis, serving the children of the world. And my club in general, we are so much grateful for every effort. May God bless you, sir. Yes, it is very okay. Please go ahead. Now, this was a project we did at Kisenyi Orphanage. It is now Kisenyi Orphanage actually has two slots. There is one campus that is in Kisenyi, and that is for the girls alone, while the other slot is in Bulenga. So this one was at the girls campus. Kisenyi has over 250 girls. Yes, exactly. That is the total enrollment, 250. And once in a while, when we actually can, we pay a visit and donate things just like you're seeing here, salt, sugar. Then the pads, many of these kids are disabled. And you'll find some that appear like 10-year-olds, yet very honestly, they are 25-year-olds.
Wow.
So these pads at times, these girls are going through menstruation, sometimes with their notice and other times without their notice. Many of them actually, their behinds are loose, and they end up messing the whole place. So once in a while, when we can, we come in and support them.
Is this a particular school, or is this a group of a lot of children?
This is called Missionaries of the Poor. Missionaries of the Poor specifically is working with children living with intense disability. All the children at Missionaries of the Poor are those that are supposed to have aided movements in wheelchairs. Very sad to note that there has not been enough capacity to provide wheelchairs for all these children. This is simply a sample of a few of them that we managed to bring out. You can see the building at the back, those are dormitories. So many of them are kept inside there. And then when there are visitors, they bring out a few of these children. Actually, these ones you're seeing are fairly well. What is inside the building there is much worse than what you're seeing. Oh, yes. This was at, with the baby, this little girl was at Kiswa Health Center for children living with HIV/AIDS. Now, when I made a post about our visit to Kiswa Health Center, I don't find it very okay to show these kids' faces and then label them as children living with HIV/AIDS. Now, to protect these children, that is why we rephrased our project to Breakfast with Special Friends. But for matters of discussing as two Kiwanis clubs, yes. Now, for example, the girl you can see there, she's HIV positive. This one here, the one you're showing with Father Christmas, a Black Father Christmas, that is very okay. So this one was in Nachivalli Refugee Settlement. Nachivalli Refugee Settlement is the biggest refugee settlement we have in Africa at the moment. It is located in Isingiro district on the borders of Uganda and Tanzania. So this was last year's Christmas. We paid a visit, teamed up with the Kiwanis Club of Nachivalli, and shared a few Christmas takeaways with. Our keen interest then was the elderly, women, and children.
Oh, let's talk about your one day. What did you do for one day?
Well, we did two projects for Kiwanis one day. Our first one was at Missionaries of the Poor. This one you're seeing. And then from Missionaries of the Poor, we went to Kasokoso. Kasokoso is a slum that that was flooded, and then people's houses were washed away. They had no shelter, nothing like food. So we came in and assisted, most importantly with the food. We took part in building temporary shelters so that these people can, for a meantime, have where to sleep. Very sad to notice what we thought was temporary is what they continue to live in till date.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yes, I want to say thank you to Michael. Something that might be of interest to some of our members. There are 6 Moravian congregations in Uganda. I don't know if Michael's familiar with the Moravian religion or any of those congregations, but I realize that might be a connection that some of you might be interested in pursuing also.
Now my current location is in Kampala.
Right there.
Exactly, yes, that is my current location.
There you go. Just wanted to show people a rough idea of what your country size is. I don't know if we can pick any more pictures. We could spend the rest of the day talking, but you like to play Santa Claus, don't you? Father Christmas.
Surely. This year, we are actually planning for the same. Now, let me give you a slight brief about this Christmas project. This was the Christmas project of 2020, and we conducted this one in a village called Budondo in Jinja district. We met these 2 children, they're twins, just like you can see. Now, these twins were born blind. And the first time we saw them, they wished, just like any other children, we were dreaming we'll help them attain school one day, just like they were also dreaming they wanted to attend school and mix up with the other children. Their father, who's a farmer, had vacated home on the allegations of these children. I guess there is nothing important that can come out of them. To cut the long story short, these 2 children are enrolled in Teso School for the Deaf and Blind. We as the Kwanz Club of Nakawa contribute to their school fees. The Kwanz Club of Mpiji contributes to their scholastic materials. And over time, these are projects that we call on well-wishers and people that are interested.
This is Ken Wildrick. I wanted to just thank you for your discussion today, and the number of endeavors that you're involved with are overwhelming, really. It's so many things. You have a very large Kiwanis club that
I was going to mention, as John mentioned, there are a few Moravian churches in Uganda, and through the work of the Women's Unity Desk and the Board of World Mission of the Moravian Church, they do quite a bit of work over in Uganda, especially supporting the stop of violence against women and girls. And that's a project over there that's funded by the Unity Women's Desk of the Moravian Church. So there may be a connection there, who knows?
Well, if you're considering doing things, it's very good to have multiple connections so that different people can look at what actually is. If you have people on the ground,
Yeah,
who are don't have a what should I say? They have a different focus, so they don't have their own well, they have different interests, and they can give you a more objective picture what sort of support you might want to provide.
Barb, I'm going to challenge you to get a hold of the Unity Board and ask how we funnel funds to Uganda from North America.
I can get a hold of the Board of World Mission, I think would be the best place to
Yeah.
go through.
In other words, how do the
all
Moravian
that.
churches funnel money through to help the churches in Uganda?
Right.
And maybe we can find another direction of funneling money over that way, so when the time comes, we can make some kind of a connection.
I learned of the Sorry, I still have my hand up. I'll take it down soon, but I learned of the Moravian church's involvement in East Africa in an airport in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles airport, from a North Carolina Moravian who wasn't quite sure where Bethlehem was, which surprised me because I thought, this was the center, but evidently the Moravians in North Carolina aren't so sold on this being the center of Moravians, but I had a feeling that they were more, that area was more involved in the East Africa than the churches here, than the Moravian churches in this area. But that was just a feeling I got from what he said.
In actuality, John, the largest number of Moravians are in Tanzania in the world. But of course, North America are the wealthiest members of the Moravian Church. So that provides an onus on the Moravian Church in North America for us to try to see what it can do to help. I think it would be helpful for us as Kiwanians if we could hear more from him about what things they might prioritize. He mentioned so many different areas that they're involved in that if you were to give money to, in general, it might be not enough to make an impact on any one of the things, but it could be that we could have an impact on a particular thing in education or healthcare or whatever it was that they felt was really their biggest need.
There he is. I thought he went to get his Santa Claus beard.
Not
Sorry,
really.
I have to leave, folks. My battery's
Okay.
about done and I have another commitment, but thanks so much. It was a great presentation and we want you to know we care about you even though we're a long way off.
Thank you very much.
Michael, one of the questions that Ken was asking, and he's just signing off now, what other international charitable organizations are providing services in your region?
Well, there are not very many international organizations because in Uganda, what is standing out majorly is Rotary. And I think the reason is that many of the members of Rotary are people that are above 45 years of age, people that have had the chance to work and accumulated the monies. But trust me right now, I'm not telling you because I am a member in Kiwanis. But Kwanz clubs in Uganda, to pin Kiwanis Club Wakiso and Kwanz Club Nakawa have done the greatest projects in the country so far. On my screen, and somebody was asking, how about Red Cross and YMCA? Do they provide services as well? YMCA, yes, I know it exists. In particular, I haven't seen any of their projects. For Red Cross, yes. Red Cross does a lot of services because Red Cross has stayed really so long in Uganda with quite a number of branches and then with structures ranging from country director to offices in the different regions to offices in the various districts. And yes, when we conducted our blood donation drive, we did a partnership with Red Cross, because some of these projects are complicated in a way to go to face one-on-one with a new club. But when you involve organizations like Red Cross that have been doing this for quite a number of time, it is actually simpler.
Now, Michael, I can't speak for the
And
club.
then what you asked me, how safely to get money to Uganda, we used to receive aid then, and it used to come through Western Union. It is a fast way, very simple and very efficient and safe.
Michael, let me ask you sort of a simple question.
Yes, please.
Couple questions. What is the primary language in Uganda? English?
Now, Uganda having been a British protectorate, we speak English quite often.
Okay.
It is both our official language, and one wouldn't be mistaken to tell you we use it as a national language as well. It is a language that actually unifies people from the different regions and then different tribes in the country.
The other question is, one of the things that you and Walt were talking about was books, and Walt then realized what you were looking for were what they call composition books. Basically small booklets that have white lined pages inside so children could write in that. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Then my understanding of things, I'm trying to give you a comparison, yeah, between what you think and then what is happening in reality. Composition books and then storybooks are very good. It is a very beautiful idea. However, looking at children because in Uganda there is an education policy, the government introduced UPE schools. It is Universal Primary Education Schools. And these schools are basically meant for the disadvantaged children. For those children whose parents cannot afford to pay school fees, but then there is that urge, the love and willingness to attain education just like the rest. So what we do is, my mother is a primary teacher. I myself, having so much interest in teaching as a profession, when I go to these schools, you'll find a child has an exercise book, one, and then she or he writes at the front, that is one subject, and then two, and then another subject at the back. And when you ask, why are you doing this? They will tell you, you know what? This child's parents insist that they are already struggling with food and then taking care of this child. And therefore there is no extra to buy books. He or she was given 2 books and she should use that for the term. And very honestly, you look at it as being very, very, one, it is an inconvenience to both the child and the teacher. And then deep down, you're like, oh, if we can only get books for these kids to be able to write, it will be so much a kind gesture.
Well, okay, you can buy those books from in your country, or do they get shipped into your country?
I think we can buy the books because I'm going to send you a picture of the book so that you can know what I'm talking about. Some are 48-page books, some are 96-page books, and of course these are defined in prices. I have a friend from the Kwanz club of Kailua Kona, talking currency-wise, $100 is approximately 350,000 Ugandan shillings. You can try check over the internet, but averagely $1 equals 3,500 Ugandan shillings. So what am I trying to tell you? That with just $1, we have 12 exercise books.
Right.
Yes.
So I imagine.
Yeah, I imagine that with the $100 she used to ship in the books, that was about 400,000, and we would have gotten over 100 dozens. And you know how many books are those? 1,200 books. Enough for an entire school.
That's what I was curious. In other words, you have the ability where you live to buy books at some kind of a price over there. In other words, you can get them someplace in your country, or they're shipped locally to your country, as opposed to, we're not going to ship them from the United States.
We buy these books here. We actually have about 3 companies. We have Pickfair, we have Budget, and then we have Crane Paper Limited. Now, deep down, I am thinking that if we ever have the resources to purchase these books, that is a beautiful opportunity to engage these companies and tell them, hey, look here, you are in this country and making a lot of money. So under corporate social responsibility, shall we think that you would have a few books that you would like to give children that are disadvantaged? We can kickstart it there and then have a very good conversation until we agree. I'm sure they'll want to help as well.
Michael, you've given us a lot to think about. I can't speak for the club, but I now have a better picture for what you need. The next step for us is to figure out how we can actually get funds to you, whether it's done by people in the club personally, or whether the club makes a collection or a drive of funds and the club decides to send. But we now understand a lot more of what it's all about, what you're doing over there. And I think it is so wonderful what you and the other Kiwanians have accomplished and what you're continuing to accomplish. And I give you what's called a Kiwanis round of applause. We're rounding the applause.
So much a pleasure. Thank you so much. Maybe in the chat section, there was only one more question I feel I should answer. Yes, and somebody was asking, do Catholic charities, do Catholic charities provide services as well? And there's so many denominations in the country. And basically, these denominations are not a point for people to look at or circles for people to carry out these projects. But these Catholic churches, what they do most of the times, because a church is a platform to talk to people. So most of the times we are appealing to people in church, to the different churches we go to. Sometimes you watch on TV when people in churches are calling for those that are able to assist the less privileged with clothes, contribute to medical drives, and so many others. And for me, it's a yes.
All right, Michael, this is Neil Gallagher. I'm president of the Easton Kiwanis Club. My wife and I have been listening to you for about, I don't know, maybe 120 miles. I assure you our club will consider what we can do for you. We'll meet when I get back home. Great presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. I am truly humbled.
And again, thank you for your time. I applaud you. I applaud what your club is doing. I applaud what your other clubs are doing. I think we will find a way.